try to tap into that a little bit artistically, if nothing else, like for my husband. And so I wanted to bring to the table and post anything to make this movie succeed. And I wish I approached that as a production designer, because we had some weirdo continuity issues in there.
They don't see it, they don't see it.
Low budget.
Anyway, so that's what I wanted to turn around and bring to the movie, was like, I want it to succeed just for people that have to like make a change, and when they're making a change for themselves, but also because that's what someone else wanted to do. So.
I think that, well, first of all, this is a Chicago movie made by a Chicago artist about a Chicago artist, right? So I think that came natural to not only us, but all of us, so the entire crew. I'm glad you mentioned the anxiety, because when I first read the script, I was kind of at a personal low point, and that's what I read into the character, right? And I related. I was 28 at the time. This was 4 years ago, so you can do math. But we lived Olympia's story, the two of us, just working on this project for 4 years. We've started and stopped relationships, we've changed jobs, we've made drunken mistakes, we've moved, we've done the whole bit. So, I mean, this is us, really.
I will also say that we were working with a really, we were working on a budget for real, right? So a lot of what you see was what was available to us, and what was like made to like fit the world by Sarah's amazing production design. But like Olympia's apartment was the apartment I was living in at the time. Gemma's apartment was donated to us by just a really great friend who thought it was a cool thing that we were doing. The car, Felix's car was my car. She died earlier this year. But so one of the beautiful things about that though is that I feel like because we had to use the resources that were available to us, everything was incredibly authentic, like whether we liked it or not.
I love to cook. And so they're like, you gonna flip this taco show? Yes, I can.
No, he specifically asked to do that.
No, seriously, I think that I brought the support. Felix is, I think, extremely supportive of Olympia in her journey. And I have that same support to my wife. And I think that it's just important, right, for Black men to be more supportive of our Black women as they do whatever they need to do to be as strong and powerful as they are. So just to like get that in the film and be able to bring myself to that, I was yeah.
Yeah, Gordon definitely earned the well. So dreams deferred, forgive me, is also a strong theme in this, and it's generational, you see. It feels like Olympia is perhaps maybe dealing with more of trying to break out of this tradition of just going along and doing, what is supposedly the normal right thing to do, get a job, settle down, blah, blah. But we see through her mother that the legacy is to go that route, but to be incredibly dissatisfied. What do you feel, what inspired the direction you went in when it came to Olympia deciding to, very uncomfortably, it kind of seems, to follow her dream of going out to California? Well, maybe not so much a dream of going out to California, but the opportunity to do something very different, to get out of the city that she grew up in, and to, build on her dream.
Thank you for asking that. I think there's a lot of things at play for her, right? They have an argument, kind of a little after the midpoint of the film, where they say some pointed things to one another, but none of those things are lies that they say to one another, particularly when he says, you can draw from anywhere, your family doesn't have the same shape that it used to have, there's nothing actually rooting you here except habit. And I think it's really hard for her to see that because she is frightened. Like making that big of a change in your life is incredibly frightening. I remember how frightening it was when I moved from DC to Chicago 10 years ago. But what was also really important to me in the narrative was that she not make the decision to follow some guy until she felt like she had achieved and accomplished and taken something for herself, right? She needed to make that book she had talked about. She needed to reach out to that artistic entrepreneur and claim something for herself so that she wasn't just kind of floating untethered, but that she had a stronger sense of who she was and how she wanted to be in the world. And then she could realize this love that's been walking beside her.
Yeah, and kudos to you for making Felix like the perfect person. Like there was no, I'll get mad at her like, damn it, woman, like, forgive me. But it was so important that she did come to the conclusions on her own. My last question is the incorporation of animation at times throughout the film. What was the conversation like surrounding that? And I have my own, suspicions about what it reflected, but I would like to hear what you all think it meant.
Well, that's an idea I had at the very beginning, when we were feeling very ambitious. The character's an illustrator, obviously, and we see all of these facets of life pulling her in every different directions in the physical world, but we're not necessarily seeing what's going on internally. And the use of animation was meant to show what's going on in Olympia's mind or Olympia's world. Having said all that, we're low budget and we didn't expect to ever actually be able to do what we did. But when Sarah came on board to produce post-production, she really pushed for that, and I'm so glad she did.
Well, as someone who's also an illustrator, I felt like I did not do the animation. Let's get very clear on that first. But as far as like having, I just felt like it was so important because it's, we can see emotion in clothes.